You're not always worried. That's what makes this harder to notice. You can laugh, work, talk normally, get through the day. From the outside, nothing looks wrong. But underneath all of that, there's often a quiet question running in the background. What's next? Not in an excited way, not in a curious way, in a guarded way. Like something is about to shift, like the good mood could change, like the conversation could turn, like the calm is only temporary. And because it feels subtle, you may have mistaken it for personality. You may have called yourself observant, careful, realistic, good at reading situations. But a lot of the time, that's not what this is. A lot of the time, you are not simply paying attention. You are anticipating disruption. You are waiting for the drop before it happens. You are bracing before there is anything to brace for. And there's a reason this pattern can feel so automatic that you barely question it. Think about how many moments in your life are never allowed to stay simple. Someone is kind to you, and part of you warms up, but another part quietly asks what they want. A day goes smoothly, and instead of settling into that, your mind starts scanning for what might interrupt it. Your phone stays quiet a little too long, and the silence doesn't feel neutral. It feels loaded. Someone's tone changes a little, or maybe you only think it did, and suddenly you are no longer inside the conversation. You are above it, watching it, interpreting it, preparing for where it might go wrong. That is such an exhausting way to live, especially because it often does not look dramatic enough to name. You are not having a breakdown. You are not spiraling every minute. You are just never fully down. Never fully settled, never fully in the room. Even in good moments, some part of you stays near the exit. That is why rest can feel incomplete. That is why peace can feel thin. That is why being around other people can feel like work, even when they have done nothing clearly wrong. You are not only experiencing the moment itself, you are also managing the possibility of the moment changing. And that possibility can become louder than reality. Maybe you notice it most with people. You walk into a room and almost immediately start reading. Who seems warm? Who seems off? Who might be irritated? Who might be distant? Who is safe to open up to? Who might change on you later? It happens quickly, so quickly that it feels like instinct. But instinct is not always accuracy. Sometimes it is just repetition. Sometimes it is a pattern that got rewarded so many times that it started to feel like truth. You may do this in closer relationships too. You enjoy someone, but never all the way. You let yourself trust them, but not all the way. You open up, but you stay ready for the moment their energy changes, for the delayed text, for the colder tone, for the misunderstood comment, for the shift that proves you were right to stay a little guarded. And because you live that way often enough, your body starts to treat uncertainty like evidence. Not evidence that anything is wrong, evidence that something could become wrong. And for you, that is enough to start preparing. This is the part many people miss. They think the problem is fear. But fear is not always the main thing here. Sometimes the real issue is expectation. You have gotten so used to expecting a shift that you feel uneasy when one has not happened yet. Calm does not register as complete. It registers as unfinished. Like the scene before the scene. Like the pause before the bad news. Like the brief stretch of quiet before something changes shape. So even when life is not hurting you in that exact moment, your mind stays in motion. It keeps leaning forward. It keeps asking, what's next? What did I miss? What should I prepare for now? And that question can attach itself to almost anything. A good relationship, a stable job, a peaceful weekend, a kind message, a better season in your life. Instead of receiving it fully, You partly inspect it. You partly hold it at a distance. You partly prepare for its ending before it has even had the chance to become real. That is one of the cruelest parts of this pattern. It does not only make hard moments harder, it makes good moments smaller. It takes the weight out of relief. It interrupts enjoyment before it gets deep enough to settle in your body. It teaches you to treat calm like a fragile object instead of a place you can stand. And after a while, you may even start believing this is wisdom, that this is maturity, that this is what smart people do. Stay ready, stay aware, stay slightly detached. Do not get too comfortable. Do not trust the good too quickly. Do not relax so much that you get caught off guard later. But there is a difference between wisdom and constant anticipation. Wisdom responds when something is real. This pattern responds before anything has happened. Wisdom sees clearly. This pattern fills in blanks. Wisdom can stay present. This pattern keeps leaving the moment early. That is the hidden reason you are always slightly waiting for something to go wrong. It is not because danger is everywhere. It is because your mind learned to treat interruption as more believable than stability. At some point, whether through people, environments, repeated disappointments, shifting moods around you, or just too many experiences where calm did not last, you learn something quietly powerful. Do not settle too fast. Do not trust the moment too fully. Watch for the turn. And once that lesson gets deep enough, you stop needing an actual problem to activate it. A possibility is enough. A pause is enough. A delayed reply is enough. A look on someone's face is enough. The beginning of happiness is enough. Because your mind is no longer waiting for evidence. It is working from prediction. That is why this video is not really about anxiety in the usual sense. It is about misinterpretation. It is about how your mind takes neutral space and gives it a direction. How it takes uncertainty and quietly turns it into a warning. How it treats the future like it already sent a signal. And then you react to that signal as if it were real. Someone is quiet, and you do not just notice they're quiet. You start calculating what it means. A good thing happens, and you do not just enjoy it. You start measuring how long it will last. Nothing bad is happening, but you do not relate to that moment as nothing bad is happening. You relate to it as the point right before something bad might happen. That difference matters, because it means your tension is not always being created by reality. A lot of it is being created by interpretation. Not conscious interpretation every time, not a long speech in your head. Sometimes just a flash, a quick shift in your body, a narrowing of attention, a slight pulling back, a tiny brace. But those tiny braces add up. They shape your personality from the inside. They shape your relationships. They shape the way you experience time. When you are always expecting disruption, you never fully arrive anywhere. Not in conversations, not in rest, not in joy, not even in your own progress. Because as soon as something begins to feel steady, you are already scanning for the crack in it. This is something learning to feel safe speaks directly to. Because so many people do not realize how much of their life is spent scanning instead of living. And once you see this pattern, the goal is not to shame yourself for it. That would only become another form of vigilance. The goal is to understand what is actually happening when that question appears again. What's next? Because hidden inside that question is a whole posture toward life. A posture that says the present moment cannot be trusted on its own. A posture that says peace must be checked. Connection must be checked. Good news must be checked. Silence must be checked. Everything must be checked for what it might become. That posture makes sense if you learned that things could turn without much warning. But if you keep carrying it into every room, every relationship, every quiet evening, every hopeful beginning, it starts controlling moments that never asked for defense. And this is where the shift begins. Not by forcing yourself to think positive, not by telling yourself to stop, not by pretending nothing can ever go wrong. That is not believable, and your mind knows it. The shift begins when you notice the move itself. The exact moment you leave the present and move into anticipation. The exact second a good moment stops being a good moment and becomes a setup. The exact second a neutral pause becomes a silent threat. The exact second your body tightens around a future that has not arrived. That moment matters more than most people realize. Because once you see it, something changes. You are no longer fully inside the prediction. You are watching your mind make one. And that is a very different position. Now, the delayed text is still a delayed text. The quiet room is still a quiet room. The smooth day is still a smooth day. But you begin to notice how quickly your mind wants to add the next chapter before the current one has even finished. That is the distortion. Not that problems never happen, they do. Not that shifts never come, they do. The distortion is living as if the shift is already on its way every time something gets calm. The distortion is treating possibility like probability and probability like certainty. The distortion is assuming that peace is temporary by default. No wonder you feel tired. No wonder connection can feel effortful. No wonder you can be surrounded by decent people and still feel slightly on guard. You are not just dealing with life. You are dealing with your expectation of interruption layered on top of life. And that layer follows you into places that would have felt different otherwise. If this is hitting something real in you, subscribe, because this channel is for seeing the hidden patterns that quietly shape the way you live. The practical change here is not dramatic, but it is powerful. It starts when you stop obeying every prediction your mind offers. Not because your mind is evil, not because you should never prepare for anything, but because your first interpretation is not always a fact. Sometimes it is an old setting. Sometimes it is an old question trying to run a new moment. What's next? Maybe nothing. Maybe this conversation just stays normal. Maybe this good day remains a good day. Maybe this person's pause is only a pause. Maybe the calm in front of you is not a trick. Maybe it is just calm. That may sound small, but for someone used to scanning, that is not small at all. That is a completely different way of standing in your life. It means you stop volunteering for tension before tension is needed. You stop breaking your own peace in advance. You stop turning every open space into a waiting room for bad news. And when you do that often enough, something soft but important starts returning. Not instant confidence, not permanent ease, something more honest than that. You begin to experience moments with less interference. You begin to let kind people be kind before questioning their motive. You begin to let silence be silence before turning it into a verdict. You begin to let things go well without mentally rehearsing their collapse. You begin to feel how much energy you were spending on futures that never happened. That is where a different kind of safety begins. Not the fantasy that life will never change. Not the promise that nobody will disappoint you. Not the illusion that nothing painful will ever arrive. Real safety is quieter than that. It is the growing ability to stay with what is actually here, instead of constantly rehearsing what might replace it. It is the growing ability to notice your own internal brace, without handing your whole day over to it. It is the growing ability to remain in the room, in the conversation, in the good moment, in the stillness, without immediately moving to protect yourself from an ending that may never come. That is not denial. That is not weakness. That is not carelessness. That is strength with less fear mixed into it. That is awareness without constant alarm. That is a mind that does not need to predict disruption in order to feel prepared for life. And maybe that is what you have really been craving all along. Not more control, not better timing, not perfect people. Just the ability to stop scanning long enough to actually live. To actually feel the warmth of something before trying to measure its lifespan. To actually hear someone without secretly listening for the turn. To actually rest without treating rest like a temporary loophole. The ending of this pattern usually does not look dramatic. It looks like catching yourself in the middle of a quiet brace and not following it all the way out. It looks like noticing that your mind has moved ahead and gently returning to what is still true now. It looks like allowing a moment to remain simple. It looks like staying.
And if you want to go deeper into that process, Learning to Feel Safe was written for exactly this kind of pattern and how it quietly shapes the way you move through life.
Because the truth is, you were not broken. You were not weak. You were not just too sensitive. You learned to expect interruption. You learned to mistrust ease. You learned to stay a little lifted off the ground in case life changed quickly again. But that is not the same thing as who you are. And the more clearly you see that, the less power it has to keep writing your days for you. You do not need to keep living one step ahead of your own life. You do not need to keep treating peace like a countdown. You do not need to keep preparing for endings in the middle of beginnings. What you are really learning now is not how to predict better. It is how to remain. And that changes everything. Because your deepest need was never more vigilance. It was the freedom to finally stop asking what's next and start inhabiting what's here.